Hello everyone, I'm Jack Fisher and welcome to my world. And ever since it was announced, Jonathan Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man has broken so many rules, but in the best possible way. It flat out rejects the notion that Spider-Man stories have to be constrained in certain ways, like he can never be married, never have a happy family life, and never become the hero he needs to be without his Uncle Ben dying. Many jaded Spider-Man fans know these constraints well, but the first two issues of Ultimate Spider-Man wholeheartedly reject all of them. It gives us a bold new version of Peter Parker. He's happily married to Mary Jane Watson. They have two adorable kids together. His Uncle Ben is alive and well. And J. Jonah Jameson is actually nice to him. I know, it sounds absurd to anyone who's been following Spider-Man comics for the past 2 decades. But Ultimate Spider-Man has made it work beautifully. In the span of just 2 issues, Hickman has built a new Spider-Man in a new world that is sorely lacking in heroes thanks to the events of Ultimate Invasion. But even after choosing to embrace this responsibility, even after gaining his powers as a mature adult, this version of Spider-Man is off to a rough start. He had 2 chances to be a capable hero against Shocker, and in both cases, he failed hilariously. On top of that, his daughter, Mayday, learned his secret identity, and nicely reminded him that he got knocked into a dumpster. It was awkward, yet still adorable. It also demonstrated that this version of Peter Parker has a long way to go in terms of being a capable Spider-Man. But Ultimate Spider-Man number 3 does help get him a few steps closer, albeit in unexpected ways. In some respects, Mayday learning her father's secret was a welcome catalyst. She helped reveal that his initial look, being a guy in an all-black suit, just didn't present him in the right superhero aesthetics. Now, this beautiful family dynamic blossoms even more. When Mary Jane takes Richard out, Peter and Mayday use that as an excuse for a little daddy-daughter quality time. And they made great use of it too. Peter uses the fancy suit that Tony gave him to try new designs and color schemes. And Mayday, being both adorable and artistically inclined, helps him cycle through multiple designs, only to eventually settle on his classic Spider-Man look. Also, quick aside here, this moment between Peter and his daughter is just so perfect. The idea that he adopted Spider-Man's classic look with the help of his youngest child is just so absurdly wholesome. Not even Mephisto himself could deny that. And the fact that Peter takes his daughter web swinging afterwards, much to his delight, that just makes it even sweeter. Now, what kind of father takes a child swinging through New York City in broad daylight, you might ask? How about the awesome kind? Who else? The fact that Ultimate Spider-Man keeps going out of its way to give us moments like this is a big reason why it has struck a chord with so many fans. But the lovable Parker family dynamic isn't the only unique element at work here. Peter's Uncle Ben being alive has also provided a whole new arc for him, as well as J. Jonah Jameson. Instead of obsessing over getting pictures of Spider-Man, Jameson and Ben Parker have embraced a different purpose. After Wilson Fisk took over the Daily Bugle in the first issue, they each quit their jobs on their own terms, and now they're looking to strike out on their own, seeking to create their own news outlet. They may not have money, employees, or an office that looks in any way habitable, but they do have a vision, and it's one that's very relevant to this new Ultimate Universe. The Maker and his council have already done plenty to disrupt this world, and even after the Maker's defeat, the council managed to frame Tony Stark and the remaining Ultimates to ensure that they remain in power. And while they've made their influence felt in previous issues, Jameson and Ben are approaching it from a different perspective. Whereas the Daily Bugle under Wilson Fisk is focusing on Peter's activities as Spider-Man, there's also a new version of the Green Goblin flying around New York City, attacking various targets within Fisk's organization. And since Fisk works directly with the Maker's Council, that's a problem, but one they prefer to keep out of the media spotlight. It creates a unique subversion of J. Jonah Jameson's role. He's usually the one who will focus on Spider-Man regardless of whether there's a bigger story to follow. But in this case, it's much more relevant because the Green Goblin has been much more active than Spider-Man. And he's attacking the very power structure that's trying to maintain itself after the defeat of the Maker. While Peter does try to talk up his activities as Spider-Man with Ben and Jameson, he does ultimately agree. The Green Goblin is the bigger story. And the fact that Wilson Fisk and the Daily Bugle aren't reporting on it is actually really telling. That convinces Peter to look into it. So, in his new Mayday-approved Spider-Man costume, he stakes out the city in hopes of finding the Green Goblin. It takes him a while. He makes clear that he does not like this aspect of superhero work, But eventually, he does cross paths with the Green Goblin, and in doing so, we're introduced to another new face, a new ultimate version of Bullseye. Now, like Shocker in the previous issue, this version looks similar to his mainline counterpart, but is distinct in a few key ways. For one, he's throwing playing cards, something that's more distinct of Gambit than Bullseye. Does this mean there's a connection? It's actually hard to tell because this version covers his face and his body completely, and he also doesn't speak with any Cajun mannerisms. So we don't know whether there's a connection, if any. But this being a new Ultimate Universe, it's interesting to speculate. The maker just changed so much, maybe he's also changed certain affiliations and backgrounds for certain characters. And that's certainly worth keeping an eye on. But at least for this story, Bullseye makes one thing clear. He works on behalf of the Makers Council. He's paid handsomely to ensure their interests are protected. That means the Green Goblin is the primary target, and he does plenty to frustrate him. But this is where Spider-Man comes in. Keeping in mind that his record thus far as a superhero is poor, he's still able to get in on the action, if only to give Bullseye multiple targets to deal with. Bullseye is still able to adapt, largely by having zero concern whatsoever for collateral damage. But in the end, it's Spider-Man who helps win the day. And that's a big deal because it marks the first time he's actually won a battle against an enemy. Sure, he did need help from the Green Goblin, a sense I'm sure sounds weird to any Spider-Man fan, but still, a win is a win, and for that he deserves some credit. But this also gives Peter his first chance to confront the Green Goblin. He's already seen what he can do against people like Wilson Fisk, and he's seen how capable he is even against agents of the Makers Council. But this version of the Green Goblin isn't some cackling, demented madman like we've seen with Norman Osborn, nor is he some mutated monstrosity like we saw in the former Ultimate Universe. But before Peter can even start asking these questions, this Goblin is able to use his tech to hack Spider-Man's costume. And for the second issue in a row, Peter's identity is exposed. You could argue that this is worse than his daughter accidentally finding out because this is broad daylight and with someone he does not know. But that dynamic quickly changes when the Green Goblin reveals his identity too. And while it probably won't surprise anyone that it's Harry Osborn, it's still remarkable in its implications. In so many other Marvel universes, Harry becoming the Green Goblin is part of his father's dark legacy. It's often a product of corruption rather than malice. However, in this case, much like Peter, becoming the Green Goblin for Harry appears to be a choice. We saw in the first issue that Norman Osborn was among those who died in the attack the Makers Council framed Tony for, and Harry's speech at the memorial service was not healthy to say the least. He's clearly on a vendetta now. He might even see himself as a bigger superhero than Spider-Man, because he's actually taking the fight to the Makers Council. But like we've seen in plenty of other Marvel universes, his methods are questionable, and they invite consequences both to him and his loved ones. The issue ends before Harry and Peter can even discuss these issues, but more than anything else, Ultimate Spider-Man number 3 ensures once again that Spider-Man and the Green Goblin are linked in a major way, just for very different reasons. It certainly has major implications. It also has plenty of unique appeals. It's not often we find a whole new Marvel universe where Spider-Man and the Green Goblin team up in their first encounter. But that's exactly what this new Ultimate Universe is giving us. Where it goes from here, it's hard to say, but it definitely offers plenty of intrigue. There's adorable family dynamics, there's unique superhero dynamics, and there's a bigger picture with a bigger threat to tie it all together. And ultimately, what more could you ask for in any comic? Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my world. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, take care and stay safe.